Following that breaking news out of the NFL, where the New York Jets have announced that they will be moving on from Aaron Rodgers. That's right, QB1 the past 2 seasons, but it's been a tumultuous 2 years in East Rutherford for the former MVP, who appeared in just 18 games for the Gang Green, winning 6 of those. Rodgers will now become a free agent this offseason, free to sign with any team in the NFL. The Jets hold the number 7th overall pick this year, so maybe in a run-in when it comes to a young QB. They could select their franchise quarterback. We'll see if that happens later in April, but take a look at the numbers there in 2024. Career worst in losses with 12 yards an attempt, just under 7, and passer rating 90.5. You see it right there. Not what you want to see for possibly a future Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers. Joining us now, Aditi Kinkhabwala, who's had a chance to see Aaron Rodgers throughout this season. And Aditi, I have to ask you, like most of us, this may not have been a surprise, but your reaction to this news this morning?
Not a surprise at all. It's been telegraphed. It feels like it's been telegraphed since early in the season when Aaron Rodgers was talking about stable ownership, something that we know that the Jets have sort of struggled to convey, perhaps. And Aaron Glenn also telegraphed that perhaps this isn't the direction that he wanted to go in. I think that what's fascinating here now is what happens with Aaron Rodgers. And I'll let you in, when we were chatting with Aaron Rodgers during one of our production meetings, I think it was our second one with him this season, and we were talking about life after football. He said he was going to Kaiser Sose, meaning he would just disappear and we would never hear from him again, and he was not interested in a big fat TV contract or living off the fame of his football career. And he made it pretty clear right then that as much as he believes he's still got a lot in the tank, it may not necessarily be worth it to play if it's not the exact right situation. That he's accomplished what he's wanted to accomplish. He's made the money that he's wanted to make. He is intellectually extremely curious. We probably spent more time talking about the books that he's read than we did about the current condition of the Jets. And so he's going to be pretty exacting to make sure that he feels good about the situation before he signs up for something again. And if you were to press me right now, I don't know that there's a situation that's really that ideal out there for him.
I don't think anybody knows. I mean, I feel like that's the case with Aaron Rodgers.
Thanks for letting me hedge right there. No, you know what? It's so funny. I hate when people hedge, but I just did it right there.
That's fine. I mean, again, this is his world, and we're all just living in it. But as you mentioned there, he's 41 years of age, and maybe not that franchise guy, or no longer that franchise guy, maybe that gap quarterback. Like we talk about the same thing with Russell Wilson. If he is looking for a next destination, I mean, it's a pick of a litter. You have the Browns, Steelers, Titans, Giants, Vikings, depending on what happens there, Raiders and Saints. What's the best scenario based on your conversations with Aaron and where he possibly could land if he still is interested in playing next season?
I can give you this one. I just actually read a headline that said the betting favorite is the Steelers. I don't see that one at all. The Steelers already went through this once with Russell Wilson. And by that, I mean a big name, big personality quarterback. The goal is not to run that same idea back. The Steelers need leadership on the offensive side of the ball, and Aaron Rodgers, at the stage he's in his career, is not looking to be big brother to everybody. And this, I feel like I'm sort of giving you a hint here, and I can't tell the whole story, but we had a lot of conversations about Garrett Wilson and what he was openly saying to Garrett Wilson and what he wasn't. And I think that people have a different appetite for being a mentor, for rallying a locker room as they get older in their career, and versus what they just expect professionals to know. Aaron Rodgers is not the right fit in Pittsburgh. The Steelers know that they need a different solution in terms of personality. That's not the way that you should expect them to go. And again, does Aaron Rodgers really want to sign up to be with a team to lose again? And I'm not saying that that's necessarily the Steelers or that that's the Titans or that that's the Browns, but he's got to feel really good about the fit. Although I will, as I say that to you, I'm reminded of an executive at another AFC team telling me in the middle of the season, Aaron Rodgers will end up with the Titans. And I said, really? I actually told my crew that. I said, guys, write this down because we may need to tell somebody that was a bet. But a very, very, very high-level executive in the AFC had predicted the Titans earlier in the year.
I'm going to write that down. And once again, Aaron Rodgers has us hostage for another offseason, so we will see.
I'll give that person his flowers. I don't know if I should be naming him just right now, but
no, we'll leave it alone.
Get his flowers if he's right.
Aditi, as always, appreciate your time on that breaking news with Aaron Rodgers. When it comes to his now former team and what happened, of course, take a look at it. It was not pretty. 5-12, third in the AFC East. Fired, of course, their head coach, Robert Saleh. That was never the solving problem. And now no longer Aaron Rodgers at QB1. On the other side, Evan Washburn joining us on this breaking news of Rodgers parting ways with the Jets. Following that breaking news out of the NFL, where the Jets have announced that they'll be moving on from Aaron Rodgers, their quarterback, the past 2 years, and it has not been pretty in East Rutherford during that time for the former MVP, who appeared in just 18 games for Gang Green, winning 6 of those. Rodgers will now become a free agent this offseason, free to sign with any NFL team. The Jets hold the number 7th overall pick in this year's draft and could select their franchise quarterback with that selection. For more on this, I want to bring in Evan Washburn, who, of course, has seen Aaron Rodgers throughout this season, has been there for the good, the bad, and maybe the ugly. But your reaction, Evan, to this news with Rodgers and the Jets just parting ways here?
Well, I think like you're hearing, Brandon, it's not shock, but it is the end to what is a wild story when you think about where we started with the recruitment process of Aaron Rodgers, everyone flying out to Malibu to meet with them, to the reception he got once he had signed, the Hard Knocks experience, and then obviously that Monday night game that ended year one with a torn Achilles, and then the build back. And look, we met with Aaron early in the season, a game in Nashville, and it was still the positive momentum. The vibes were strong. They were coming off a win early in the year. And it's clear that just this is a situation where as much as it's about Aaron Rodgers, it's also about what's around him and maybe infrastructure not being what it needed to be. And then also the fact that you have somebody not just at the age of 41, but any athlete coming off of that Achilles injury and what they can do in that immediate year after. We saw it from Kirk Cousins this year in Atlanta. And I think that is where I immediately go when talking about what's next for Aaron Rodgers, because everyone's going to have their opinion, and that's what we do here. But I think health is such a big factor in here, as much as it's about what's the right fit. Does he want to keep playing? Because I think you saw this year, it was a version of Aaron Rodgers we hadn't seen. And I think that's more about the Achilles and what it did to his game than it is about where he is in his career as a football player.
You probably know this better than most of us here, but Aaron is at that point where he's 41 years old and he wants to win. He's said that in the past, the reason why he went to the Jets in the first place. But you kind of harped on a little bit. What is the next move? Could we realistically not see him next year? And then the opposite side, the Jets, are they ready to bring in maybe another gap quarterback, or do they go that young QB in the draft? Your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, it's a lot to sort through, Brandon. I'll start with Aaron Rodgers. I would be surprised if he doesn't find a home and try to recapture some of what is going to be a first ballot Hall of Fame career. It's wild how this sort of journey resembles the guy he followed in Green Bay, and Brett Favre, having that Hall of Fame career in Green Bay, spending 1 year, which is basically what Aaron did as a player on the field, 1 season with the Jets, and then had that rebirth in Minnesota, the 2 seasons there, taking the Vikings to the playoffs. And I think that's the best version of events for Aaron Rodgers. And I think there is a situation where that could happen. And I think it speaks to, again, where he goes, what's around him. And I know you just had Aditi on and you guys ran through some options there. And that'll be the exciting part of the offseason, is trying to find a home. Again, if he decides he wants to play, which I would imagine he would, just as a competitor, not wanting to go out like this, if you will. On the flip side, for the New York Jets, it's clear that Aaron Glenn has come in there with a new general manager as well. But this really feels like Aaron Glenn, which is everything you've heard about his personality, his leadership style, his coaching style. He's coming in with a plan. He wants to set a foundation, much like Dan Campbell did. And if there's a version of a Jared Goff trade, or bringing in, as you put, a bridge quarterback that maybe recaptures something like Jared did in Detroit, that would be ideal. I don't think bringing in a rookie quarterback at that 7th pick with what we look at this draft class to be the answer necessarily. But I think it's clear what Aaron Glenn's doing is he's going to find someone that's ready to fit into what it is they're building there, which is sustainable and not necessarily band-aiding a situation thinking that's going to solve everything.
Change for both sides. New York trying to get back in that win column when it comes to competing for championships, and Aaron Rodgers also will maybe be looking for that there when it comes to his new home. As always, Evan Washburn, appreciated the breaking news with the Jets parting with Aaron Rodgers. But take a look at it. 2024 was not good. Missed the postseason for the 14th straight time. They fired Robert Saleh there. And also, Aaron Glenn, change is coming. But Aaron Rodgers' career lows and all those numbers you see there. Keep it here on HQ. Updates throughout the day.